everybody. This is David Campbell from HassleFreeCashFlowInvesting.com, and I am joined today by two of my friends and colleagues, Marty and Jessica, from the Cape Crossing Resort and Marina in Cape Canaveral, Florida, on Merritt Island. And they have a very exciting and unique investment opportunity for you today. And it's a great combination of income, potential capital appreciation, and an unusual component of personal use or enjoyment. And what we're talking about today is the opportunity to have a vacation rental property, a fee simple ownership in a townhome that can be managed for nightly rental in a resort environment. So this is not timeshare, this is not fractional, this is you having fee simple ownership of a property like an apartment or a owning one room in like a hotel. So if you've ever wanted to own a hotel, but you didn't have the tens of millions of dollars to own a hotel, you could own a townhome, which functions kind of like one room in a hotel in an awesome resort in an upcoming area of Florida. So this particular resort and marina has some really awesome, unique economic drivers of why people would want to stay here as opposed to renting a hotel at the Hyatt or the Marriott, etc. And so we're going to talk with Marty and Jessica today about their really awesome property there in Florida and why it can make an excellent addition to your hassle-free cash flow investment portfolio. So welcome, Marty and Jessica.
Hello, David. Welcome to Cape Crossing.
So, Marty, you and I talked about this project several years ago when it was just a piece of land. And now I'm super excited that the townhome project is pretty much complete. And you're open for business and you've got nightly rentals. And I'm very impressed with how beautiful the resort turned out. So tell me a little bit about the background of developing this resort and why you thought it would be an excellent investment opportunity for both you as a developer as well as a future investor like one of my clients that would want to own a nightly rental townhome.
Sounds great. Sure, Dave. The site was formerly the Tingley RV Park and Marina for 50 years. It's a historical site. Everybody who grew up in this area remembers the catching fish off the docks or eating at the restaurant that was on site. So it has a historical knowledge about it with locals and people from the area, but it's also located on the beach line, State Road 528, and Courtney Parkway, State Road 3. Of course, on beach line is 39 miles from the airport without a single red light between us. And Courtney Parkway, State Road 3, is about 15 miles from the front entrance to NASA. 28 million cars drove by this site every year. 4 years ago, the last time they did the traffic study. So it's a very busy location. It's high visible. We're on the other side of the east side. We're 5 miles from Port Canaveral, which this year will become the largest cruise passenger terminal in the world. And it houses the Oasis of the Sea, the largest cruise ship in the world right now. So we looked at the site for a lot of different options, but the predominant drivers, NASA is exploding. A lot of people have the memories of the shuttle program shutting down, but all SpaceX, Blue Origins, I'm sorry. There's 48 launches scheduled this year. It's a super exciting time, and the Space Center is booming. Of course, the Air Force Base is here and very active. We have Port Canaveral becoming the #1 cruise passenger terminal in the world, and there's a trend in vacationing in Central Florida. People staying a little bit further off site from Disney and then visiting Disney one day a week. So there's opportunities for people to come stay before and after their cruise, as well as being on the water. We're half a mile from the Indian River Lagoon and 2 miles from the Banana River Lagoon, access to Port Canaveral and the Atlantic Ocean through the locks at Port Canaveral. So those were the vacation rentals in general. People who come to Florida understand vacation rentals. They look for vacation rentals. It's a nice opportunity to stay in a home and have a home away from home, maybe cook a couple of your meals at home rather than staying in a hotel and not having all the niceties that you would have. Most of the municipalities in Brevard County restrict transient rentals or vacation rentals, anything less than a month or 3 months, except for the county. Cape Crossing is located in Brevard, doesn't have any of those restrictions, making St. Pete probably has 30,000 vacation units within 30 miles. Very, very few vacation rentals in Brevard County, and that was one of the big drivers why we chose vacation rental as what we created here at Cape Crossing.
That's fantastic. And so as an investor, one, I want to make sure that I'm owning a quality piece of real estate, and the construction quality that you've achieved there is very impressive. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But even more importantly, people say location, location, location. And so there's definitely, when you're looking at location, you want to understand who your customer is, where they're coming, why are they coming there, and what part of the economic market niche you are filling. And so what we're talking about here are individual deeded townhomes between in the mid 3s to mid 4s, and the nightly rental component is really impressive because you could buy this townhome and put a long-term tenant in this townhome, and you get a certain amount of rent for that. But as soon as you are leasing this out on a nightly basis to somebody who wants to go on a cruise ship, or they're coming freshly off a cruise ship with their family, they don't want to have a hotel room. If you're traveling with your family, you probably want a 3-bedroom townhome so your whole family can be together. And when you look at the cost of, hey, I could have 2 or 3 hotel rooms, or I could have 1 townhome, there's a huge value proposition in keeping your family together in one townhome. The same thing with going to see a space shuttle launch, as you were saying. There's a lot of people coming in that need that almost like extended stay America type of experience, but at a much classier level that you're providing, right? It's a much higher end product, much higher end experience. And so I really like that you were targeting your customer first. You know that the customer is there. You see that there's a governmental restriction in supply because, as you were saying, most of the municipalities don't permit nightly rental, but because you're in a county, not in incorporated city, that you can use that property on a nightly rental where many people in the surrounding environment cannot. So I like that restriction as well. And I like that as an investor, your cash flow is potentially twofold. It could be long-term rental, but you're going to get a much better yield, in my opinion, on a nightly rental basis. And then your exit is also twofold too. This could always be an investment property, or it could be sold to someone who wants to live in it as their second home, or someone who wants to live in it as their primary home, because it is a fee simple ownership, like a house. It's basically some attached houses together that function as a resort. So let's talk about the construction quality and some of the features that make your product unique and have been really impressive to me as a fellow real estate developer. I was really impressed with your attention to detail and some of the nuances that would set up an investor for success. Like our investors are hassle-free investors. So what are some of the features about your property that are special and might set up an investor for that hassle-free experience long-term?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it is a feasible property. So you have the home that someone could live in, you could rent the property out, but we wanted to make this as simple as possible. So we have the vacation rental management program, which really handles the experience soup to nuts. Starting with construction, it's all concrete block construction, hurricane impact doors and windows, standing seam metal roofs, and it had very nice tile flooring. I'm looking around at it right now. Very nice tile flooring. It's designed to be easy to maintain and very, very, very solid. When you walk inside, they're almost soundproof. The impact glass is very blocks out any noise from the outside, so you get a very quiet, comfortable experience no matter what's going on. As somebody just went by the window with a edger trimmer doing the grass outside.
Didn't hear it. That's nice.
Yeah. So they're well built, designed to last for a long time, and the vacation rental management program is designed to make it turnkey for the owner. That you literally collect your checks. This is a purpose-built vacation rental resort. So when you pull up, you pull into a porte-cochere, there's a front desk, there's a clubhouse, there's a workout room. People come in and they check in as they normally would at a resort. And so you have that kind of overall management. It's built that way from the very beginning to be a vacation rental resort. And then when you come into your own individual unit, it's like being home. So you get the experience of home away from home managed, with housekeeping and maintenance and the whole 9 yards. It's the resort is designed from the very beginning, purpose-built for vacation rentals.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So a lot of people listening to this call are very interested in the income. David, how is this going to cash flow? And we can definitely provide some projections or some estimates of how this might cash flow, but we want to caution every investor, do your own due diligence, do your own analysis of what that nightly rental income might be, what those expenses might be, and what that cap rate and ultimate financial performance would be. Ultimately, it's up to you as an investor. This is really a real estate investment. You're owning your own unit. We strongly encourage you to manage this through the on-site nightly rental program, but ultimately it's a piece of real estate. If you decide to let it sit vacant, or you want to use it for personal use forever and ever, or you want to put a 30-day, month-to-month tenant in it, it's your property. You can do whatever you want. This is not an investment in a company where you co-own the whole resort. No, this is an individual real estate purchase that, in my opinion, highest and best use is nightly rental, managed through Marty and Jessica, but it's ultimately your real estate to do whatever you want with it. You could sell it, you could borrow against it, you could trade it, you could use it, you could do anything that you want that's a permitted governmental use and is compliant with the homeowner association documents. But we'll definitely help you get access to some of those numbers to see if the financial performance of this works well for you. Those numbers are going to change. Those numbers are going to change based on market conditions, based on interest rates, depending on the age of the resort. A brand new resort, the operating expenses might be significantly lower than 20 years from now when things need to be, starting to be replaced. So let's talk briefly about what the occupancy rates are, currently what you project them that they might be, and that's a forward-looking statement that nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, but we can definitely, forecast what those be. We can talk about what current rents are, and again, that number is subject to change based on market conditions. They might go up, they might go down, but at least we can say what they are today. So Marty and Jessica, take it away with occupancy rates, nightly rental rates, and as well as what it might look like, the difference between a month-to-month tenant and what that income might look like versus the nightly rental, and how much of a multiplier we're getting for that nightly rental component versus the month-to-month.
Great, Dave. That sounds great. Let me give you a little history of the study we did, that led us into the vacation rental too. So there's kind of two approaches to it. We teamed up with a local vacation rental management company who survived the real estate bust by getting into vacation rentals. So they had really good data on what vacation rentals went for here. And their properties, and this goes for houses built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, across all properties, their houses rent for $1,250 to $1,750 a week in the off season. They rent for $1,500 to $2,250 in the on season, and there's roughly a half of the year is on season and half of the year is off season. And none of that stuff is new product that's in a resort, with resort swimming pool and support housekeeping like that. There really isn't anything like Cape Crossing in this area. So, but that's what their old product was. And right before we opened, we had them update performas, and they think that ultimately Cape Crossing will stabilize in about 3 years at $3,000 a week. We made the decision at the very beginning, we're going to focus on having occupancy as much as we can. So while we have a very sophisticated marketing system that's on the 330 websites that you can go get, Expedia and Booking and all the places you can go, Airbnb, all those kind of places, it is able to manage the rates that are charged. As you start to rent up and have less, it raises the rates. We chose not to do that for the first year. We wanted to make it a great experience for all the guests. We did a similar project like this down on India Atlantic Beach. The experience was we were about 50% occupied the first year, about 70% occupied the second year, and by the third year we were booked out for the coming year. So our experience there was once somebody finds a place they really like, they come back again next year. So that was our objective on it. We really got into where we started having a significant number of units this past fall, and we expect that's the off season, expected to be 40% occupied. We ended up being 75 and there were periods we were 100% occupied through the fall. So had a very good fall through season this year. We were 100% occupied. Typical, May and 50 or 60% occupied in May, and now we're booked again for the summer. So while we expected a 50% occupancy the first year, and our goal was 75 second year, and then closer to 90% third year, we've experienced a much higher occupancy rate. Again, we haven't adjusted the rates. We charge $225 a night, and that is the higher end of a hotel. So if you're higher than that if you get into the suites in the hotels around here, but it's a great rate. People love it, and they go. Most of the comments are, "It's not going to be this inexpensive next year, is it?" So as we've just finishing the last building of the townhomes this week, CO'd, and it's occupied for the summer. So our experience will be to gradually start to turn on our system and let the market set the rates higher as we fill up. But there's been some interesting drivers. We did not expect to have as much long-term rentals as the weekly and nightly. We instantly had people that are working out at the Cape, and they got to come in for a month or two to be a contractor on one of the launches. So those are great rentals. If we do have somebody that's longer, we charge
$3,500 is the going rate right now. 32 to 35. We've got as high as 38. But we get a lot of insurance claims as well. We have a lot of hurricane damage from Irma. People are still not back in their homes, so it's a great option for them. They don't want to be in a hotel for what they think is going to be 6 weeks, but ends up being 6 months. So we have a lot of that as well as the NASA contractors that get you through those slower season where the vacationers aren't coming. They're definitely filling up the unit. You're not getting that $225 per night, but you're definitely making an income and covering your costs.
So that probably in the beginning we were surprised that we had about 50% of the weekly rentals, 50% of the long-term occupancies. That's gradually trending toward the weekly rentals. And we expected to have mostly weekly rentals when we started, but we do have a lot of 2 and 3 night stays with people coming before their cruise and after their cruise as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's nice when I am doing my online rent analysis as a potential customer. So let's say I'm going to go on a cruise ship, and there's a flag hotel, like 4-star flag hotel near the cruise terminal, and I could spend $150 to $250 a night, but all I get is 4 walls, a bed, and a sink and a shower. I don't have a kitchen, I only have 1 bed, right? Or I could stay at Cape Crossing, and I've got a approximately 1,500 square foot Class A townhome with 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, all of the pool and the clubhouse and the resort amenities and the daily housekeeping type of services and amenities that are available at a hotel, but I get a lot more. I get a significantly more value for my money at Cape Crossing, and I really do see that's an awesome value proposition. So when I'm also very appreciative that you're keeping your rents relatively low while you're building a reputation. It's more important to be 100% full at a low rent than 100% vacant at a high rent. So having, or even 50% occupied at a high rent versus 100% occupied at a low rent, right? So definitely that's a very smart way to go in growing your brand and getting your revenue in. So as the manager of the nightly rental program, you set the rent rate on a daily basis, right? So that's a really awesome hassle-free component. So many people buy a vacation rental, and their vacation rental experience is they have a manager who rents it out, and then the owner because I've been here, I've owned vacation rentals before, right? So the manager rents it out, and then they say, you know what, we need some new furniture. David, could you go buy some new furniture? And by the way, we're running low on toilet paper. Could you go stock it for toilet paper? And then I go vacation there, and then, oh, you know what? I need to go buy new cleaning supplies for the cleaning person and stock the closet. And it is, even though it's professionally managed in that vacation rental environment, has not been a hassle-free experience for me. It's got this management-intensive component as an owner. And what I really like about the Cape Crossing Resort and the investment opportunity that you are providing for our clients is a very hassle-free, almost, I dare to say passive investment, because ultimately it is active. You do own the property. You can fire the management company at any time and hire a different management company. You could manage it yourself. You could do anything you want with it. But as long as you're choosing to participate in your management program, it's as passive as I could possibly imagine. Really, all the owner needs to do is get the rent check, pay their mortgage. That's it.
That's it.
That is it.
And then we strive to make it turnkey for the investor. So for the owner, we literally market and find the customers. We take care of them while they're here. We manage the housekeeping and the maintenance, and we provide reports and checks to our owners.
Awesome.
Pretty straightforward.
Awesome. So some people who put programs together like this, they put all the income in one bucket and they put all the expenses in one bucket, and then they get a fraction of what's left over. Or you manage it individually like a typical property manager would do. Tell me how your program works and how you manage income and expenses for an individual owner.
The Cape Crossing Resort Management Program, again, we handle everything for the process for the guests and the owners, soup to nuts, and we split the revenues. So on our side of the expense columns, we're paying for housekeeping, maintenance, the marketing, and the electric bill. And on the investor side, you're paying for your property taxes and your association fees.
Awesome.
And go ahead.
Yeah. So what's the revenue split? How much does the investor gross, and how much does the house gross on the revenue?
Whatever the revenue is for the unit, we split it 50-50. And again, we pay for all the marketing and housekeeping and maintenance and their electric bill. The association, as in a typical townhome association, you have the inside walls of the building, which are maintained and taken care of by the owner. The exterior walls are taken care of by the association. So, keeping up with the landscaping and the painting and the minor repairs and the water and the grass and the palm trees and all that is the responsibility of the townhome association.
And this is an important distinction, because let's say you bought a unit and then you lived in it as an owner. And you said, this is my new residence. I'm going to live here forever. That owner still has a responsibility to pay their townhome association dues for the maintenance of the common areas and the exterior maintenance. But then you decide, you know what, I don't want to live in this. I want to put this into a nightly rental program, which I anticipate the vast majority of your property owners wanting to do. So they have their property in the nightly rental program. Then your company, from your 50% of the gross revenue, you pay for maintenance, electric bill, and the day-to-day operating expenses like housekeeping, etc. So those aren't separately charged to the owner. You pay for them as part of your 50% management fee.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like that, because what that does is that encourages the management company to be efficient in their operation of the business, and it makes the gross revenue more predictable for the owner, right? They won't get
exactly
wide swings in expenses, etc.
Right.
Tell me about furnishings and how when someone buys a unit, does it all inclusive? Does the furniture and the dishes and the silverware and like everything that you need for the nightly rental, is that included in the purchase price? And then how are those items replaced in the lifespan of the ownership of the property?
To be a part of the vacation rental program, you need to have the standard furniture package. So, if we're going to be marketing Cape Crossing Resort Marina, we want to have a standard feel for the guests. They know what to expect, very high quality, and also just keeping up with everything. What goes in each unit. So the unit comes with a furniture package. Every fork, knife, spoon, cut glass someone would need when they're staying in their vacation, their home away from home, is included in that. So it's fully outfitted with the things you need to live there. There's on a monthly basis, there's a 5% of the revenues are kept in a reserve fund that is the investor's money, but this money is used to replace the forks and knives as they go out. And at the end of the year, if there's a surplus, we distribute it to the owner.
Okay, so $1 comes in, your company keeps 50 cents for management. From that 50 cents, you're paying general maintenance on the property, you're paying the electric bill, and then there's 50 cents that goes to the owner. And from the 50 cents that goes to the owner, 45 is distributed as cash flow, and 5% you hold back in a trust account effectively for the future use of that owner in replacing things that wear out or disappear in the nightly rental program.
Exactly. That was a great summary.
Awesome. Of course, we do operate like a standard hotel, so we take incidentals. So if something can be charged to the guests, if a guest clearly walks away, we have very nice plush blankets that seem to like to walk away. We charge the guests for that. The owner's not getting charged for that.
So when I am looking for an investment, one of the big advantages is the tax benefits associated with rental property and rental property ownership. And what's pretty awesome is when you own a rental property, obviously you get to deduct the things that you would normally deduct, like management expenses and operating expenses on the property, interest on your mortgage, etc. But one thing is pretty awesome is, let's say you owned a rental property in a place that you never wanted to go, right? And you went there. You could deduct, but probably, I'm not your tax advisor, so obviously consult your tax advisor, but it seems reasonable that you could deduct the cost of your travel and your stay at the property that you are going to supervise. So let's say you owned a triplex in Detroit, right? And then you flew from your home in California to Detroit, and you had to rent a hotel in Detroit while you were there supervising the management of your nasty triplex in Detroit. That's potentially a tax-deductible trip. But let's say instead of a nasty triplex in Detroit, you had a beautiful Class A resort townhome in a highly desirable part of the world. And you just had to fly there every single year to make sure that your investment was being well managed. That very feasibly should be a tax-deductible trip. And so if you happened to fly into Orlando and you were checking out your investment, and while you were there you had some fun while you were doing it, you can talk to your tax advisor about the repercussions and the deductibility of that fun experience that you had that might become deductible. And so I like having little anchors, investment anchors in certain parts of the world that allow me to go to those places for legitimate business purposes. And then, of course, I'm going to have some fun along the way, right? So when you're looking at investment opportunities, if you are going to go to Cape Crossing and make a potentially tax-deductible journey there, possibly with your family to support you in managing that investment, what are some of the really fun things that I might do, or a prospective customer might do, right? Because if I'm considering an investment, or I have an investment there, and I want to, like, for example, understand the quality of the paddle boards that you're using at Cape Crossing Resort, I might have to inspect personally the quality of paddleboard that you're using at the resort to make sure that you're managing my investment appropriately. So what are some things that a customer might do when they're staying at the fantastic Cape Crossing Resort and Marina?
I think first and foremost, no matter what, the quality of the paddleboards is going to be much nicer than the quality of the paddleboards at your investment in Detroit. So you're off to a really good start right at the very beginning. We're located on the water. We have a 31-slip marina on the property. We rent pontoon boats, paddleboards, kayaks. There will be a 150-seat tiki hut style restaurant on the property with its own swimming pool. So there will be dining opportunities in a short walking distance. In the surrounding areas, we're close to NASA. It's great to watch launches. It's nice to go over and see the Space Center and get a little history of the area and the space program. We're 5 minutes from Port Canaveral. There are great restaurants in Port Canaveral. Charter fishing, you want to go bill fishing, you want to go mahi fishing, deep sea fishing. There's plenty of opportunities in the area. And we're close to, you can always take a day and go get caught up in the crowds at Disney and go see Disney or Universal for one day too. So ideal spot for inspecting your investments for sure.
Yeah, when I look at the map, it seems that you're really close to Cocoa Beach and some other beaches that seem very famous. I'm like, oh, I've heard of that beach. I've never been to Cocoa Beach, but I've certainly heard of Cocoa Beach. Like, tell me, like, what is the... You're not on the beach where I could see myself like walking out my resort and putting my towel and sitting down and then walking back to my cabana. That's not the kind of resort that we're talking about here, but you could certainly get in the car and be there in a very short order. So tell me some proximity to like the beautiful beaches and that typical when people close their eyes and they think of palm trees swaying in white sand and looking at the ocean. How far away is that amenity, and what are those amenities like?
We're not on the beach, but we do have a very nice pool, so you can still do the towel and bathing suit thing as you walk out your front door. Enjoy some time in the sauna or the workout room, and then relax by the pool. But we are Port Canaveral is where the cruise ships go out of. The nice restaurants. It's great to go watch the ship sail off. Jetty Park Beach is right there at Port Canaveral, and it's a beautiful wide sand beach. It's got a pier. That fishing pier, you can go out and see that day off the point. And then just a couple miles further down the road, 3 miles further down the road, is world famous Cocoa Beach. So there's surfing, and there's a pier that was recently remodeled, restaurants, entertainment stuff on the pier, and lots of plans for expansion and more events down there. But all the typical stuff at the beach, sitting around doing nothing, throwing frisbee, looking for shells, fishing. Cocoa Beach has all those kinds of things.
I really like the central location of the Cape Canaveral Resort. It is even not just geographically within your area, and you could be minutes to Disney and minutes to the beach and minutes to NASA, and there's a really awesome sports complex that's nearby your resort. But also just the convenience to the highway. I mean, you said it's no red lights from the airport all the way to Cape Canaveral. And then you're pretty close to the highway, which is great if you're looking for using your resort as a home base for touring a wider area, right? Because there's some people that want to go to Disney and only to Disney, and they're going to stay at Disney and they're never going to leave Disney. That's a certain tourist, but if you're going to look for a central place where you can do beaches and Disney at the same time, I really think that the Cape Canaveral Resort's got some excellent location centralness to it.
Cape Crossing's your place. It really is located in a great crossroads to a lot of opportunity to do things. Being on the water, access to the Indian River Lagoon, the intercoastal waterway from New York to the Keys, and Banana River Lagoon, some of the best red fishing in the whole world, dolphins and manatees swimming by, and then of course you have access to the Atlantic Ocean through Port Canaveral and the locks at Port Canaveral, and all of the fishing opportunities off the east coast of Florida. And then the highway takes you're a short hop to the port and Cocoa Beach, or if you want to head over to Orlando, and everything tourist under the sun is just about as available somewhere in Orlando. So it's a great central point for visiting just about whatever you want to do. You're 5 minutes from I-95 as well if you want to hop a little further north and south.
Awesome, awesome. So when I spent time doing my due diligence on Cape Crossing, and I've personally invested a considerable amount of personal funds in financing Cape Crossing, some of the development and some of the long-term financing. And so very much I'm a believer. I've got my own money where my mouth is in believing in the financial success of this particular property. So I want to, full disclosure.
We appreciate that, and we've enjoyed working with you.
Good. I want to have full disclosure. That I do have a financial interest in the property itself, which is twofold. One, if we're talking about selling units for which I'm a lien holder, I think that's a material disclosure to make to people, right? That I would get some type of benefit as a lien holder in helping secure the success of the resort. But more importantly, and the part that I want to emphasize is I wouldn't have made that investment if I didn't have a huge vote of confidence in the long-term viability and financial success of not only the property, but the management team behind the property. So there's three principals in the Cape Crossing Resort, and I've known and worked with the three principals in this property for a number of years. We did our first project together in Vero Beach, Florida. It was approximately 2010 or 12, somewhere in that time frame. And that was a very successful project, not only financially for the investors who were in it, but as well as just an experience working with the three principals in the Cape Crossing project. And so it's pretty awesome that I've got a 6 or 7 year history working with the principals of this resort and have had a very positive business experience with that. This team always does what they say they're going to do. Sometimes they go above and beyond what is expected of them in delivering a resort. Like I can think of at least a couple occasions where something didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, and the management team there said, no problem, we just took care of it, right? We'll just make it right for you. And then it speaks volumes about the character and the quality of people doing business with and really investing in the relationship. The people behind Cape Crossing really do understand the power of a relationship, and that relationships are key. And as you all know, when I'm talking about investing in a particular market, I really emphasize management, because you could buy a property, but without good management, it's not going to financially perform, and it's going to be a hassle for you. And so I really want to go out on a limb and really underscore the value and the quality of the people and the management skill, not only just the soft skills, but the actual, these people who are managing and owning this property have the experience and the track record and the people first attitude behind helping you be successful with this investment. And so that's more than, we've been seeing the praises of the location, the praises of the construction quality, the upside in the potential rents, and when those rents go up, the potential that equity would grow as well. But I also want to really underscore that these are really good people that you want to do business with. And so
we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and it comes from experience. Like you say, trust but verify, or time will promote you or expose you. And so when we first started doing business 6 or 7 years ago, it was like, well, let's see how this goes. And it went great, right? And so when things go well and people take care of you and communicate professionally, and then you want to do more and more business with those people and invest in those relationships. And so the power of the group that we're creating through the Hassle-Free Cash Flow Investing brand and bringing a lot of investors to the Cape Crossing Resort is powerful in two ways. One, the principles behind Cape Crossing remember what it was like to work with the quality of investor, not only just the financial sophistication and the education, but that relationship first spirit that our clients are bringing to the table, and our purchasing power as an organization, as a hassle-free cash flow investing organization, gets us into great relationships like this. And so what's really special is we're hoping that the vast majority, if not all, of the investor-owned units at Cape Crossing are going to be clients of hassle-free cash flow investing, which is awesome because your partnership is not only with the management team, but in a sense with your neighbor. Like, who are my other investors that are going to own units left and right of me? What's their financial sophistication? Do they have an alignment of vision? Do they want this resort to go in the direction that you want it to go, etc.? And by bringing in a group of investors who tend to think smarter and more consistently and more hassle-free in their attitude towards investing, I think we're creating a very special place. And on the personal use component, which we'll talk about in a minute, you might actually show up at the Cape Crossing Resort to enjoy some personal use time, or as I might, you might call it some tax-deductible inspection time on your investment in Florida. You might run into the pool. Chances are actually pretty good that you'd run into someone at the pool that thinks about investing the same way that you do, and that they have multiple investment properties and they own mortgage notes and that they're financially sophisticated. So let's talk a little bit about if someone owns this unit and their primary intention is for cash flow and passivity and the potential for equity growth on their investment, but they also see the value of showing up every once in a while, either for fun or for a business. What does that personal use component look like? What does it cost them? If their particular unit is rented at the time that they want to show up, how does that personal use component managed, and how does it work, and what does it cost?
The owners get 6 weeks of the year to use it. Some people say, oh, that's not quite enough, but it's funny when you watch, it starts off 6 weeks is enough, and then once they start getting the checks, it goes, oh, well, 4 weeks is plenty, and then 2 weeks is plenty, and then 1 week is plenty when the checks start rolling in. But they are, the unit is available. If their unit is not available that week, obviously the guest comes first and we honor any reservations in the unit. We can put them up in a different unit. And the beauty of our resort is all of our units are identical, same furniture package. So, they're going to be in essentially their unit. And it's a $50 cleaning fee for them to come use it. And that's their only cost associated with coming and staying with us.
That's spectacular. So I'm going to just, for the sake of clarity, because I think this is so awesome, if I want to go stay in my unit and it's rented, I'm making income that day and I get to basically stay in the unit at the same time. So I'm getting income and I'm getting personal use at the same time, because the chances of the whole resort being 100% occupied 100% of the time, that's just not going to happen, right? I mean, we would love that to happen in a certain standpoint, and if that does happen, well, that's cool too, right? But if you want to go stay in your unit and it's rented, you're going to earn income and you get to stay there for the cost of the cleaning fee. So that's pretty cool, right? I want to really underscore that, because when I owned a vacation rental unit, I own a home in Tahoe, and I rented it out on a nightly basis. And I thought, oh, you know what? My schedule changed. I'm available. I want to go. Let's go today. And it's full. And I'm getting income, which is not bad. But if I wanted to go vacation in Tahoe, I had to write a check, because there was nothing else there that I could stay in. No one else wanted me to stay in their unit because there was no incentive to do so. So I think that's a pretty awesome value add component of this investment, is double dipping, really. Like, you can get income, you have your cake and eat it too. So that's awesome. I could say, you know what, I really want to stay in my unit and nobody else's unit because I love the flamingo that's on the wall. Could you reserve it for me and take it off the market? Then you're not making income, right? But if you say, keep my unit in the rental pool, and then, oh, by the way, I'm coming there tomorrow, what do you have available that's vacant? Then you're double dipping, and that's the really cool thing. So don't get hung up on the personalization thing. This is a slightly different type of vacation rental product where you just look for the benefits, and those benefits are pretty awesome. And one of the minor setbacks is that you got to pack your toothbrush each time, right? That's just kind of a different way to approach it. So If somebody is interested in this particular investment opportunity, it's fundamentally a real estate investment purchase. And so the process is the same as buying any other piece of property, right? You enter into a contract to purchase. You can get financing, traditional financing, bank financing to buy your unit. You'll need a conventional down payment, 20 to 25% down payment. You can get long-term fixed financing on this just like you could a single-family home. Once you close escrow on your unit, you enter into a property management agreement with a property management company that is the manager for the nightly rental program. And so everything is going to feel and function just like every other one of your real estate investment purchases until you decide to get on a plane and go out there and potentially stay there. And then you don't have to stay in one of the ghetto triplex units in Detroit. You can stay in a Class A townhome in a really central location. When you buy a rental property that's renting for $1,000 a month, and then maybe next year you get $1,050, that's a $50 a month increase in rent. That's pretty impressive if you can get a 5% rent growth. What we're looking at in Cape Crossing, in my opinion, is we started out the call saying that, well, current rents are $250 a night, but the market study was showing closer to $400 a night. Right? And so what we're looking at is the opportunity for rents to go up considerably once we have stabilization, once we have repeat customers, and this property has been accepted and more stabilized in the marketplace, and you're through kind of like the introductory, we're going to be the low price leader to get occupancy. Once you have track record, reputation, and by the way, that reputation is really strong. If you look on Google reviews and review sites like Yelp, those are honest, genuine reviews by people who are using the product, and they're all very favorable. And so that's awesome. And you look at things like Expedia and what the marketed nightly rental rate is, you can't fudge that. Like, you can independently review what the nightly rental cost is to be there. But that upside in rent could be huge, right? And so when someone is, and this is fundamentally a residential property, which is trading, if Bob bought it for X, then someone else will buy it for X, right? But when you're looking at a commercial property, those trade on a multiplier of income. And this particular property might function a little bit of both. It might have a little bit of appreciation because the market appreciates, but it also might have higher demand simply because the income has gone up to an impressive level.
Just going back to an earlier comment that you made about the team that we have here, I appreciate those comments, and I want you to know the feeling's mutual. It's been great working with you. But also, Jessica's our resort manager. I don't think I introduced her at the beginning of this, but she is the one that has all the employees that work here. She interfaces with them and with a good chunk of the guests. And one of the reasons that Cape Crossings is so successful is because she's just dynamite with the guests when they come in. She gets mentioned in reviews, and you can pretty much know that if you've got a problem, hang on, let me get Jessica, because they're going to love Jessica. So one of the reasons Cape Crossing is so great, because we have a great team, and it's managed by Jessica here. So I would look at, if I was the investor on this, and I am the investor, I'm the developer, this is the way I look at it. That there's a 3-year stabilization on this kind of product. What the product sells for today at approximately mid 300s, we expect that number to be higher once the rents are higher. So I would look at it that you're going to get a reasonable rent out of your investment, but you have a significant opportunity for a kicker when you're ready to sell, whenever that is. 20 years down the road, but 3 to 5 years down the road, when you're ready to sell, you should have a very strong balance sheet that says, profits are much better now than they were then. Again, Cape Crossing is a fantastic location in the middle, at the crossroads of a lot of opportunity, not just, and we didn't even talk about this, but there's a new sports complex that opened up that's not exactly close to here, and we didn't expect to get a whole lot of business from that, but we're booked over the summer because of those events. Those are the people that are buying 30 rooms at a time. It is at the center of a tremendous amount of booming economic opportunity. and it is a fun place. You know, you're centrally located to a lot of fun, whether you like fishing or boating or beaches or, you know, Disney and every kind of tourist thing you can get over here. There's lots of opportunity to have a great time at Cape Crossing.
I want to underscore that concept of this is phase one. Someone could get into phase one of a development, and I have made a bunch of money investing in other developments as a phase one investor, and that's a pretty cool thing. And to underscore the quality of customer service that people get there, I have had a client show up relatively unannounced at the resort to kind of experience what it was like, and they really said it had a family feeling to it. It was very welcoming and almost small towny, like, come on in, you're part of the family, and this is a level of customer service and warmth that was very different from checking into a typical hotel. And so that's extra cool too when you own it and you get to go stay there. I don't know, it's just neat. Like, you see the same people over and over. It's like, hey, welcome back, you're an owner. You own this. Like, how cool is it to show up to a hotel? And then, you know, I've got a story of a guy I know owns a major hotel, and he lives in the penthouse of the hotel. And he goes down for a cocktail, and the waiter comes over to me and like, well, sir, what would you like for a cocktail? And he doesn't say anything. His drink just shows up. I'm like, that's cool, because he owns the hotel, right? So you probably aren't going to get like your cocktail showing up without ordering it, but there's definitely some.
Make that happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility at all.
I know I came in a couple weekends ago, and Jessica wasn't in, and where's Jessica? And she's at the store. The people had an emergency, and they missed their flight, and they showed up late, and now they've got to go on a cruise tomorrow, and she wasn't able to find her baby's particular kind of baby food. So Jessica had found it at a market on a Sunday and was running out and getting this lady's baby food to make sure that she had the food for her cruise. So that's what we shoot for.
That's cool.
But I really would encourage everyone to go on and take a look at those reviews, because, you know, really we're selling what they own and we're selling their product, and, you know, if they're willing to invest their money with us, and I just want everyone to see how well we take care of their units and how well they're maintained. And you know, and we're protecting it like as if it's our own investment and our reputation. You know, we're representing the owner as well, and I think that you can definitely get a sense of that by the reviews that we have.
So it's so exciting to have a great product, great location, phase one pricing for equity growth, opportunity for great cash flow growth, and a fantastic team behind your investment. And then you combine that with the opportunity for personal use and potential tax shelter on your management of your investment. It's a pretty cool opportunity that I really hope our clients at Hassle-Free Cashflow Investing take advantage of. If you do have questions and you want to just engage in a conversation, the next step is to send an email, david@hasslefreecashflowinvesting.com, or you can call me on my personal cell phone or text me on my personal cell phone at area code 707-373-9966. Send me an email, a text, or a call. We can talk about your interest in the property. We can talk about pricing. We can talk about potential cap rates and cash flow, and really see if this is a great addition to your investment portfolio and your lifestyle portfolio. So once you and I have an initial call and figure out some of your high-level financial questions, we can definitely get you in touch with the sales team at the Cape Crossing Resort, and they can help you with your final property-specific questions, get you a copy of the purchase agreement, copy of the rental property management agreement. We can help you connect you with appropriate financing sources for your acquisition, and then make this acquisition and the management and the receipt of income and the whole life cycle of your investment in this property a very hassle-free cash flow experience.